I think already kind of growing up, dealing with a bit of racism in surfing and just being me as being a kid, I kind of was already prepared and knowing the world doesn't necessarily like people that look like you in that sense. Like it's gonna be harder. So I was already coming here knowing that like I may experience twice as much as racism as I experienced back in Hawaii. But I was prepared for that, and like I knew if I wanted to make it, I'm gonna have to get through these hard parts. Like people can push me around and say whatever they want, but it's not going to keep me from keeping on and doing what I got to do. So I'm going to come out here anyways. If you know and truly believe why you're here, that's why you're here. And I just stuck to it.
Aloha, and welcome to the Sick Burn Podcast, where we explore the bright side to life's darkest moments. Today, we're thrilled to welcome Julian Williams, a fellow Hawaii brada and a Native Hawaiian pro surfer who laid it all on the line to chase his dreams. He's a creative spirit and a community volunteer. Julian champions diversity in the surfing world and is an advocate for Black surfers everywhere. His passion extends beyond the ocean as he volunteers to uplift his community and uses his creativity to inspire change. Join us as we dive into Julian's inspiring journey, discussing the power of community, creativity, and the courage to lead change. Enjoy today's episode. Julian, man, I'm so stoked to be talking to you today. Your vibe online, just the light that you put out there, being a fellow brother from Hawaii, it's just special, man. And we were kind of quickly talking about before we hit recording, like about how your dad met your mom.
Yeah.
And it was kind of random, right? Like
Super random.
he called and then your mom picked up, right?
Yeah. So for the start, yeah, my dad is from San Antonio, from Texas, and he's in the military. So he gets stationed at Schofield, and my mom is still in high school at the time. And there's like an okazu, a little like in Hawaii we call it the bento box. You go get a little bento for lunch or whatever. So my mom was walking across the street from Waialua High School, it's called Cigarras, and she went and like was walking past the payphone and it started ringing. And I don't know why, but she ended up picking up the phone, and my dad was on the other end. He was like, he was trying to just call his friend, and my mom answers or whatever, and he was like, oh, like this is him thinking to himself. He's like, oh, like, dang, she sounds pretty, So he kept on talking to her, and
honey girl.
Yeah, literally, 100%. And from then on, it took off, and then that's how I came to be.
Wow.
Yeah, super stoked.
That's amazing. All right. So you are also part Native Hawaiian too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I watched that amazing video that they put out on Nowness. Was it like Makai
Yeah, Makai. So it was me and Loris, and it's a super cool story how he and I actually met and actually started to work on the project as well. So when I first came out here to California, but LA in specific, I didn't have many surfboards. The surfboard shaper I was working with that was taking care of me for years, we kind of parted ways. So I was really in between, like, oh, I have a surfboard, but I don't. It works, but it really doesn't work. I'm making it work. Super rad human. His name is Matt Pagan.
Mm-hmm.
Met me on the beach, and we started chatting and rapping about surfing in general. And he's got mutual friends with some of the Gallaghers and the Stones back in Hawaii.
Oh, right on.
One of my best friends growing up, his son or whatever. So we were able to connect on that bridge, and he is a surfboard shaper and offered me up some boards. So I was riding for him for a couple of months. And this other pro surfer, his name is Dylan Perillo. He rides for former Dane Reynolds' company.
Yeah.
He was asked to put together or like to be a part of a passion project, which the director of Makai, who I worked with, Loris, was reaching out to people to try and find some kind of interesting story to tell that has some kind of like really interesting like sport kind of tied to it in that sense, so like surfing was kind of like the way he was going because he's in California. The contacts that he had, he knew. So he reached out to Dylan, and mind you, I never met Dylan Perillo in my entire life. I guess he's seen me surfing, and shout out to Dylan if you ever see this, bro. Thank you very much for putting us in contact. And I mean, it's changing things, so I do appreciate it. But he had seen me in the water and realized that I had good a story, and like was like, no, like why would you want to do a story on me when you could do something on this super rad kid that just actually came from Hawaii?
Yeah.
So somehow Dylan reached out to Matt Pagan, got my number. Dylan and I chatted, and then I was connected with the director. And then from that, it was only supposed to be an hour-long meetup to kind of introduce each other at the coffee shop. But we ended up spending like 6 to 8 hours talking, sharing my stories, and a lot of the narration and sound bites that you hear on the Makai were from that first day that we sat down and have a conversation.
Wow.
So it was very like, I mean, like a lot of this stuff is just coming up, and like I'm just kind of going with the flow and embracing what's in front of me and enjoying it as much as I possibly can. Like, yeah, very, very, very grateful, very blessed to have been able to be put in that position for sure.
Man, but based off that story, like, I mean, I'll just speak for myself. I feel like you deserve it because it wasn't an easy path for you growing up too. Like, you know, like I'm very proud to be from Hawaii. I love the people. I love the culture. I love everything about it, but I'm not Native Hawaiian. So for me, I always felt a little bit of shame around it. You know, it's like, I feel like I'm Hawaii, right? I feel like I'm from here, but I'm not Native Hawaiian.
I hear you.
So I always felt a little shame about it. I know for you, I saw in that video, it wasn't always like an easy path, right?
No.
Growing up. And would you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah. I mean, being Native Hawaiian, but also not fully looking like it, that was the part that I dealt with. Like, so people would like look at me and just instantly assume, because when I growing up, I had a big old afro, and people would instantly assume I'm just black.
Yeah.
Never knew. Even kids that I like went to school with, and my grandma was their teacher. Like, yeah, my grandma's you're just teaching you to play ukulele. She's teaching you all this Hawaiian language. Like, that's my grandma. But people would never put two and two together and realize, oh, like, no, there's actually like a Hawaiian brother too. Like, he's not just black trying to fit in and be like this and that. Like, I'm sure playing basketball and everything kind of put to that stereotype. But I was put in a box pretty much in Hawaii as this black kid who's also Hawaiian in some sense. But then when I got into Kamehameha, that gave me a little bit more validity of how Hawaiian I really am. Yeah. And like it really made me feel proud. But even there in high school, like I was in the dorms from like 9th grade till I graduated, and I dealt with racism in the dorms. People calling me the N-word this, N-word that, and just having to bite my tongue so much to the point where, I mean, I was bleeding, you know, like I got in trouble for a lot of reactions, and like dealing with like just being so angry for not being accepted. Like I just never understood it. Like, bro, I'm the same as you. And like people tease me, we're just as dark as I was, bro.
Right.
Like,
I bet you're probably more Hawaiian in some ways, like more Hawaiian blood than some other people, right?
Pretty much full Native Hawaiian. Like she's the closest to a pure Native Hawaiian that I can call that I know today.
Wow.
So when people like act a certain way, I'm like, I find it funny, but it's also hard to like not want to say something, not want to react.
Yeah.
But then that's also feeding into that whole thing. So like growing up, I dealt with a lot of like just trying to figure out where I belong. Why am I like doing the same things? You know, I talk the same way. I like to eat the same food, you know, like listen to the same music. Why am I not able to like cruise with you guys? But slowly as I got older, I started realizing, even though I'm not different, I may seem different to them. And that's where this Makai kind of played into understanding who I am. Going back to Hawaii, I was able to kind of like relearn my roots and kind of like be proud again for being who I am, not just for Hawaiian, but being African-American, just being Julian. Like I kind of started to lose that as I was growing up, and even venturing out first here, I kind of started to lose who I was. And yeah, like I said, like that definitely played into effect from a really young age, like elementary school, 2nd grade, people calling me the N-word this, N-word that. I'm like, bro, what? And like, even when I first started surfing, like I didn't have the nicest boards. I had a board that when my grandpa first moved from Kansas, my grandmother and my grandpa met at a Bible school in Kansas.
That's awesome.
My grandmother grew up in Kalihi her whole life, never been to Mainland, and somehow they met. Anyways,
wow.
When they moved here, my grandpa's a pastor, so they started a church, and they were working at the church, and he wanted to get into surfing. So they were driving, like literally right when they landed, driving down the road. And I guess it was, I don't want to say it wrong, but either Dennis or Glenn Pang, one of his ex-wives at the time, was selling his surfboards on the side of the road, like not the Canefield, the Pineapple Roads on Cam Highway.
Yeah.
So my grandpa was going down that way. He's like, oh shoot, like there's a why not go try and buy it? So I'm pretty sure he bought it for like $30 or $40 that day. Right. Rode it one time. He and that's where it was hard for me too. Like growing up, I was the only one in my family that surfed.
Oh, okay.
Everybody else did everything else, but I was the only one that was always drawn to the water.
Right.
So when I like finally was like, oh no, I'm gonna do this. Like I want to surf. I go and look. I'm like looking under the house, like pulling stuff under. Oh, there's a boogie board, beat up skateboard. Oh, and that's like this yellow, super old board. But it's like, I don't know if you ever watched the Griswolds, but like when they go and they find their Christmas tree, like the light shines on it and they're like,
Yeah,
that's how
yeah.
I felt
Oh,
when
I
saw
love that. The
board.
family Christmas vacation or something.
That's a family tradition, bro. Every
That's awesome.
Christmas we watch that.
That's amazing.
Every day, probably every day that's on. But that's how it was. When I saw that board, I was like, holy crap, I just found the holy grail.
Yeah.
But it wasn't to other people, you know. But to me, that was so special. So when I would show up to the beach with that board, people would look at me like
what is
this kid doing? Like,
Yeah,
he must be really trying.
And it was probably old school, like probably a really old school style board, right?
Was shaped back in 1974.
Wow.
It's a single fin. It's like almost 3 inches thick. But I mean, I rode the board before I came out here to LA, and the thing still works perfectly.
That's awesome.
I attribute a lot of my surfing and my style to that board. But I would show up to contests or I would show up to the beach just to surf, and people would be looking at me and already dismissing because of even the board that I was carrying. So it was hard to break out of those stereotypes. Oh, he doesn't have this. He doesn't have. Oh, he looks like this. He looks like that. And that's why I started to understand. Okay, that's probably why I was never in those circles, because of the way I looked. It sucked, but I got over it. A lot of my friends are actually like international. I have a couple of local brothers who are my friends still from Kamehameha High School. Shout out to Kainoa Andrade. A lot of my friends are from Brazil or from Peru or from, I mean, even from LA, from California. I have a lot of friends that are like, you know, that are different.
Right.
And that's how I was able to connect and find my path and kind of find who I am and realize, no, I'm different. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And really just accept it for sure.
Man, that's incredible, because I mean, so much that you had to deal with at such a young age too. It can be so confusing, and I feel like you just did it in this like kind of amazing way. Even though you said you kind of got into trouble, but when you first you started moving from basketball to surfing, then all of a sudden was there a little bit more kind of peace that showed up with you? Where is there like, oh, okay, I'm finally on the right path. I kind of, even if other people outside don't accept this, like I'm starting to accept this. Is that kind of how you felt about it?
100%. I love basketball, but like, I mean, like there's basketball courts at the beach in Hawaii. So I would be having practice, and some of my friends would just be running past me like, you're running, going to the beach. I really started thinking to myself, what the heck am I doing here? Like I enjoy it, but not as much as I enjoyed standing up for those. I mean, at the time, I was probably only standing up for 10 seconds max. Like those 10 seconds in the water on my board, that's way better than this 2 hours of running back and forth and sweating. So it was hard because at the time I didn't want to disappoint my father because he was so like, and my parents did a lot for me to be able to like grow in the basketball, all these camps and all that kind of stuff. So when I told him like I didn't want to play basketball anymore, I wanted to be a surfer, he really didn't have anything to say because he doesn't know surfing. So for him, it was like more of like, I'm here to support anything that I can, but like, good luck.
Wow. Okay.
And
did you feel like he got your back though?
Oh yeah. My family has always had my back. I mean, my mom, probably my biggest supporter ever. All through high school would save my butt from things. So I really appreciate her for that. But she would also be the loudest person cheering for me, whether I was basketball, surfing, water polo. And I mean, I would know she was there without even seeing her.
Without seeing her, you're like, oh yeah, mom's in the crowd.
But dad did. He supported on the side. Like my dad was always working, but doing that was allowing me to be able to go and travel and be able to go and have this surfboard possibly. Because there was a couple times where my dad did help me buy a surfboard, which was great. But a lot of my surf career, I've either gotten hand-me-downs or just like had to go dig holes at a surf shop or like lift up the resident surf shop to be able to get a board. So I've like had to remind myself that, no, bro, you've been doing this for a long time, and it's not just because you have to, it's because you love to. Like you wouldn't do all these things if you didn't love what you were doing. Yeah. So just reminding myself that too was like, it was a breakthrough. It was a breakthrough to tell my dad, hey man, like I'm over basketball. I mean, it doesn't suck, but it sucks. Like I'm so done with this. And like, I mean, like I said, it was just like good luck. And even though like nobody else surfed in my family, my uncles, both my Uncle Alan and my Uncle Eric, they grew up being watermen in that sense. So they taught me how to get out in the currents, and they took me, they're very sick bodyboarders. So anytime Waimea shore break was going off, my Uncle Alan would come pick me up, and even before we go out in the ocean, we'd sit on the beach for like an hour watching the sunrise, but assessing the conditions. So I would say a lot of that would come from my uncles. So I do thank them for that too.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome, man. Family support is so incredible, and you kind of know a little bit of my story, but
Hmm.
I wouldn't even be sitting here today if it wasn't for all my family that showed up for me. And yeah, I mean, so much of the aloha and everybody from Hawaii, like all the ohana in Hawaii, like that showed up for me when I was at my lowest too. It's just like it's such a special place for that too. But your immediate family, I mean, literally can help make or break you.
Yeah.
When did you first know that you're like, okay, that's it. I'm done with basketball. I'm going 100% into surfing. Like, was there a specific moment you're like,
Yeah.
today's the day?
I mean, I haven't really put thought into this, to be honest with you, but now that you're asking it and I'm like putting thought towards it,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
I think
there
about
was
things all
a
the time, man. I realize things all the time.
there was a moment like when I was actually at school. I was talking to Empu on the drive over here when I was competing for my high school at Kamehameha for the national competition, and there was a moment in time where, I mean, it's like a 3 or 4 day event, and at the time like that was like, oh, I'm like a pro surfer. I'm doing this. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so I had competed and like I got third at the nationals, and like I saw how long it took me and how good it felt, and like that's when I knew. I was like, yeah, surfing this is what I want to do for, and figure out a way to not just be able to stay in the water for the rest of my life, but I also enjoyed leaving Hawaii. Like that was also a big part of it, like getting out of Hawaii and experiencing California, experiencing, even getting on a plane. Some people in Hawaii have never even been on a plane
Yeah.
sometimes, so that was a big eye opener for me. And just knowing that, shoot, there's so much more that I can do just because I surf. There's so many avenues that I could take just because I surf. So that really, like, I didn't know I was gonna be like I'm gonna be world champ, or I'm gonna da 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 da.
Mhm.
But I knew I wanted to surf for the rest of my life, and that was when it clicked for sure.
That's incredible, man. Yeah, I think so many people want to have that moment, where like they just know what they want to do their whole life, right? And yeah, I feel fortunate is like I definitely have had that feeling when I knew, okay, I'm gonna get to finally work for a large sports brand. I'm getting to work
Right.
with all these cool athletes. I'm like, oh, this forever, right? And then things didn't pan out the way I thought. Get into aviation, I'm like, oh, this forever, right? And that doesn't pan out. But you find those things and it just pushes you through all the BS and all the learning and everything. Tell me about the start. Now you're getting into surfing. How does it what is it like? Like what's the hardest part? What are all the things that you're having to now deal with in the surf world?
Surf specific, I feel like the hardest part of surfing, people don't realize this, is like you paddle probably 95% of the time. So there's
Yeah.
not a lot of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
standing up on your feet. Like there's a lot of like more training and work that goes into being a surfer. Some people just think you just sit on the couch all day and watch the waves and hop up and just go. So no, you actually got to train. You actually got to do these things. So then, being that I work so hard to be in that place that I am, it's hard to understand now, trying to break into that bubble to be able to like enter into these contests or be a part of these videos or be a part of these surf or even be a part of certain companies now.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, yeah, realizing what that is.
But I think there's another element too where I guess I'm curious at with it, which is like, okay, you experience this kind of racism and almost like non-acceptance. You start moving into surfing here. You're coming to the mainland. How is that transition like for you internally? Because again, like I noticed like to be from Hawaii, which feels like it's so isolated, right? And then for me, even coming to the mainland was such a trip,
It was.
right? Like everything's so much bigger and there's so much more space and there's so much more people and like there's all these crazy events going on all the time. And you're like, how do I just like take all this in and not be overwhelmed?
Yeah.
I used to
Yeah.
feel so overwhelmed, but I just, I didn't want to tell anybody and I didn't feel like I could really tell anybody. So I just tried to like bottle it up and keep working through. And I don't know if you felt the same way, but like, how did you start feeling about being, I'm this kid from Hawaii, I'm getting this opportunity to do my thing in the mainland, but like, how did you internally deal with that?
I think already kind of growing up, dealing with a bit of racism in surfing and just being me as being a kid, I kind of was already prepared and knowing that the world doesn't necessarily like people that look like you in that sense. Like it's going to be harder. So I
Yeah.
was already coming here knowing that like I may experience twice as much as racism as I experienced back in Hawaii. But I was prepared for that. And like I knew if I wanted to make it, I'm gonna have to get through these hard parts. Like people can push me around and say whatever they want, but it's not gonna keep me from keeping on and doing what I gotta do. So I'm gonna come out here anyways. So I did it. I came out here.
What were you telling yourself in those moments?
Trust in yourself. Trust in the fact that if you know and truly believe why you're here, that's why you're here. And I just stuck to it. Like you say, it's overwhelming. There's parties and outings and all these things going on. And it's like, shoot, you want to be a part of it, especially come from Hawaii. You want to be a part of everything,
Yeah, yeah.
but you can't.
Right.
And because then it starts to pull you away from what the focus is. So I tell my girlfriend this, Frankie, I tell her this all the time. I have been so like laser focused on what my goals are since I've been here. And I feel like being here and away from Hawaii, like that's what I needed
Right.
to be able to focus on what it was. I was very comfortable in Hawaii,
Mm-hmm.
which is some reasons why people stay for a long time. Like you can get comfortable in a really good job. I mean, it is paradise. The weather is amazing. The waves
Oh,
are
yeah.
great. But I knew there was more opportunity for myself. And I knew the only way to do that is confidently getting on a plane and doing it. So when I got into film school, that was like 50% of the reason. And then I was talking with Brick from the Ebony Beach Club a lot back and forth on Instagram. And he really like pushed the fact that no, like there's a movement going on out here. Like he had experiences at the beach where people were calling him this and that. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, we need to start the community and we need to show people that there's no reason that we don't. I mean, not we, but like African-American people, Black people that don't belong on the beach, and then again, having that mental block of fuck, I mean, I am African, but I'm also Hawaiian. Like, why am I not?
Right.
The reason why you guys are surfing is because of both of my races and you guys still don't want to let me surf, And even when I first got out here, I was so blessed to be able to sleep on my brother's couch,
Yeah.
Logan,
Right on.
in Long Beach. But I was surfing in Palos Verde and like I'm out of the spot by myself. Come in, my car is, all the 4 tires are slashed. My car is
What?
waxed up and says, go back to where you came from. So I had to get a tow truck from Palos Verde all the way back to Long Beach. And that was within 3 months of me just living here.
Oh my God, man.
I experienced it pretty quick, but I
Yeah.
was expecting to experience it pretty quick. So I think that's how I was able to roll with all that's been happening. But I was also by my parents taught that regardless of what people say, it doesn't determine who you are.
Yeah.
What people say, it still gets to you, but I have learned how to like process those things and just remind myself who it is, regardless if it's writing something down or go look at like a surf clip of myself, like, okay, you want to say this, but I feel good about that. All right, good.
Yeah.
So there's a process to it, but I think being in that position in Hawaii as a kid, it wasn't in a sense like a very different space besides all of the things that are going on and all the opportunities. So then dealing with the racism and like being put in a box, but then also wanting to take all these opportunities, that was the hard part for sure.
Right.
And knowing which opportunity to take and which one is not going to be taken advantage and
Yeah.
which one is going to be equal, maybe more of a get out of from the the situation than what you do. So I think finding the community for sure out here is what really allowed me to get comfortable and really learn.
Yeah, man. I just feel like you got so much wisdom. You had so much life experience that you're already bringing to the table. I feel like, I feel like I'm already learning so much. It's just like, how did you instinctually know how to process this stuff? Like, how did you know, like, I got to talk to myself this way. I got to look at it this way. Was that something your family set up? Was it something like you just feel like you always had in it? Like, where did that come
It
from?
was it's like there's a saying like to be the best you got to beat the best, or you got to be like the best. So I started looking at Kelly Slater. I started looking at other dudes on the tour who were kind of dealing with turmoil and how they processed it. And a lot of them were just, I had to talk to myself. I had to learn how to listen to my own inner voice. I had to learn how to break myself through these things. Because you can get all the help that you want, but like if you can't do it yourself, nothing really can get done in that sense,
Right.
So in a sense, I forced myself to learn because I didn't really have a lot of people to talk to. If it was like a racial thing during like surfing, my dad didn't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom understood it to an extent, but like if I went and told my mom would go beat the kid's ass. So I couldn't tell my mom everything that was going on.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things like I had to keep to myself and then learn how to, process. But in high school, I retaliated a few times and got busted for it. But knowing that that's what they wanted me to just get out of character and act the way that they're talking, but I'm not that person. I know who I am. So it's like, again, reminding yourself who you are, why you're in the place that you're in, and then being able to continue forward. I think that's kind of how I work through it for sure.
Man, that's incredible, man. That is so impressive that you kind of pieced all these things together. What was the moment where you start feeling like I'm learning who I am?
Mm,
You
that's
know,
a good one.
because I mean, I'll be honest, like I thought I had figured out who I was. I thought like this is who I am. This is what I stand for. This is how I tie in my Hawaii roots with like the things I've learned in the mainland and the person I'm growing into. Like I think I found it. And then this accident happens for me and I get crushed down and I'm like, who am I
And then
again?
everything restarts again. That's the
Yeah.
question I kind of wanted to ask you. Like, how do you come from a place like that's so low? You know what I mean? And then, I mean, obviously, like I have my strategy to do it, but like, what was your strategy to like talk to yourself?
Man, it was brutal. To start, just to be honest, like it was brutal for me at the start because the way I used to motivate myself was you're not good enough. You're not strong enough. You're not fast, right? Like you
Hmm.
say all these things and like,
By beating yourself up.
yeah. And I used to beat myself up like that. And then what got me through flight school, because it was like so much studying, it was the most studying I'd ever done in my life. It was the most committed to any, I'd been committed to other things. And like, I wanted to play football in college. And there was like, I still wanted to do the athlete thing. But, when I kind of figured, I was like, hey, I'm probably not going to make it. I got to find a new passion. I got to find a new drive. And there was a lot of internal dialogue for me that was just beating myself up.
Yeah.
And then when I get into this accident, right, I get through flight school, which I use David Goggins' book. Have you ever heard of like
I'm
David
gonna.
Goggins?
A lot of people have been telling me about. I mean, I've seen him all over the internet and stuff.
Man, yeah.
But a lot of people have been telling me like his book is actually like a life changing kind of book to read. So I think I might have to jump in on that.
Yeah, it was just so inspiring for me. And he also like, not that I did, but like his story came from nothing, came from abuse. He came from like all these things. He had to overcome so much in his life, right? And so I listened to that book over and over again when I wasn't studying or I'd be running or whatever, just to like try to tap into a little bit of that inspiration. But what the interesting thing was at my accident, all of a sudden all that internal dialogue didn't work anymore. I couldn't beat myself up to try to heal faster. I couldn't like beat myself up to try to like get out of bed. Like I couldn't say like, hey, you suck. You can do better at this.
Because that wasn't working.
It wasn't working. And so what I started to do was I started just to tell myself, we were talking about it before we were recording, which is I started telling myself this thing, 1% better.
Right.
And it was literally like, man, if I could get one more night of sleep or even one more minute of sleep, or when I started to try to walk again, if I could take one more step or one less minute or one more minute of not taking pain medicine, whatever I could do to just make little steps. And it also started reading some things and just talking about like, how do you want to speak to yourself, right?
Mm,
And one of the
that's
greatest,
important too. That's crazy.
so important. And one of the greatest things I heard in talking to myself was rather than just trying to drive yourself, because a lot of guys I feel like do this, which is like beat themselves up to motivate themselves. They said, talk to yourself as if you were your best friend. Which is like when you listen and you think about your buddy, I don't know if you do this, but what I do, I'm like, nah, man, you got it. Nah, man, look at all this other stuff you've done before. You could do this. Right? Or like, man, remember this one time you thought you couldn't make it here, but then you did. So I started trying to talk to myself like that. And it was these slow incremental things that kind of got me there. But I don't know, was it similar for you?
Yeah, no, I think so too. Like I mean, if there was a specific instance that kind of like started sparking things, it was like I had a girlfriend at one point in time and then I didn't. So I went to Peru and I was there with my buddies for a whole like 2 months. And we're in the middle of nowhere. Like you had to take this bus 24 hours from the main city. And we're surfing these super epic left point breaks. Just me and my three. I mean, like at the time I was probably 17 or 18 years old.
That's an epic trip for
It was
17.
epic. But
Yeah.
like at the time, like because like I had thought that me and this person were gonna go through something and start something or whatever. I was like, damn, like my life just stopped, But then it was crazy. So like my Almakua is an owl, is a pueo. back
Wait,
home.
what?
Yeah, that's why I have it over here.
Bro, I always say my Amakua is a pueo.
Really?
Because I swear I seen one on a drive to the North Shore one time, driving to Haleiwa. I
You
swore.
probably did, because that's where I see them all the time.
Really?
That's like anytime that I'm like leaving somewhere,
Yeah.
like on the way here, I saw an owl.
What?
Like
bro, I used
going
to,
up.
yeah,
So, yeah,
we're so
I think
connected
about it.
like
That's
that,
what
bro.
I'm
That's
saying.
wild.
Too natural, bro.
Yeah.
Too natural. So it was one night I was drinking or whatever, but walked outside and we're in this random village in the middle of Peru. So all the roads are dirt, the houses are like half built or whatever. So I'm walking and there's no lights. And then there's this one random cross like right in front of the beach. And that's the only place that there's light. So I stopped there. I'm standing there. I'm like, wow, like this is crazy. I'm in Peru. My boys, like all this stuff has happened. Like, what am I gonna like do? Like, I'm here to surf and enjoy it, but like I was trying to do this and I was trying to do that. And I'm like looking around, and like I look back and an owl landed on top of the cross.
Wow.
And that was kind of my sign, I thought, to reach back out to God. Because as a kid, I was so I was brought up in the church.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was straight far away from that as I was going through high school. And like I said, I was like 18. So I was just about to graduate high school at the time. But it was like come back to God and have him show you why you love this again.
Yeah.
And I gave all that trust, and like from doing Peru, I went to Mexico and I did another search about here. And it's like that started to show me really like why I'm here, what I'm doing. And I think it was definitely God talking to me, but like, the Amakua story and all that, like everything came together and was like, wow, like the waves were so perfect in the background. It was so dark, but I could see the white water just peeling across,
Yeah.
and there's an owl and God. So I was like, no,
Right on the cross
it kind of
too.
just
It's
made
like,
too much sense.
yeah, it was like
And
literally a sign from God at that moment to be
100%.
like, hey, you're on the right path.
But it's not to say that like I don't go through times that like I question, even now I still sometimes question like, am I supposed to be doing this? So being in Hawaii for the time that I've been in Hawaii, it's allowed me to take that step back and realize like it's not all about the cameras and being in a contest and having a jersey on all the time. Like, no, you love
Yeah.
to surf because standing up on that wave for 10 seconds is what started it all.
Yeah.
So I've like learned how to come back to that. And but I would say, yeah, I think that moment in Peru was like really, really monumental for me, just to kind of like, no, this is who you are. Yeah.
I think if anybody could ask for any type of sign, that'd be it, man. That would tell me I was on the right path.
No, 100%. And it wasn't like I was praying to God asking for it, but like I was there in a sense, like in search of what is going to be my happiness. I was there in a pursuit of happiness. That's what I even told everybody. Like, no, I'm going to Peru in a pursuit of happiness. Like, and like the whole time that we're there, like the Kid Cudi song, I'm in the pursuit of happiness.
Love that
That
song.
was the anthem the whole entire time. So it was like, man, everything came together. And it was pretty cool.
That's amazing,
Yeah.
man. It's just kind of amazing when, yeah, like you said, you're not necessarily asking for things, but life presents a sign or opportunity, right? And it seemed like you were already putting the steps in place so that it just felt like so natural. It was the right step. From there, though, like you're not fully into, I'm going to be a professional surfer, right?
No,
You're still going to film school.
right.
Where does that transition to like, no, this is it. I'm going to try to be a professional surfer. I'm going to take that leap. I'm going to really go for it because there's probably so many people that want to do it, but they don't have the opportunity or they're too afraid or,
Right.
yeah. How do you then take this leap?
Well, like I said, I committed to surfing kind of back when I told my dad that I was over, but I didn't know necessarily the route that I was going to take. I would say honestly, just recently, I have been very confident in the route that I've taken because I was homeless for a good maybe 6 months before I was able to go back to Hawaii to be with my family. It wasn't planned, but I was living in my car,
Wow.
and I was still able to compete in this LA Surf Series. Like whether it meant that I had $1 in my bank account or like $50 in my bank account afterwards, I spent all my money on making sure I was in these contests, like training, making sure I was getting some kind of film and like coaching myself and training myself in the gym. And I was so focused on this is what I got in front of me, and this is like the opportunity that I can get. So let me just go hard and do this. And like the fact that I won both the shortboard and the longboard divisions for all of LA. So the fact that I was able to do that still while being in my car the entire time proved to myself that this is what I'm willing to sacrifice everything
Yeah.
to be able to be in the water. That's I think that's like the real moment. Like that's like I said, like super recently, like I've loved surfing my own toilet. Like I wanted to be a surfer, this is now, but like until very recently, it didn't dawn on me like, no, this is you really do want this, bro. Like you're willing to do everything that it is for it. So I would say like that's the moment for sure.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, thank you for sharing that, man.
Of course.
Like, I know that can't be easy maybe to say out loud, but I mean, I look at what you're presenting online and I watched that video, the Mackay video, and I'm talking to you now and I see somebody who's just like so much light is coming from you. You know what I mean? Like so much passion
Thank you.
and so much purpose. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't wish all the hard things that happen to you, but I feel like, and don't let me put words in your mouth. I feel like there was a lot that you kind of learned from it in a way that it kind of solidified your dreams.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. And it's like people like you that have gone through way tougher situations than I've had to go through.
Nah, we
No,
don't.
100%.
Nah.
In its own story.
You could have
and
made it.
know
You
what
could
I
have
mean.
made it, man.
But what I'm saying is like, it's like taking these instances and like, okay, it's actually not that bad. It sucks. But if you're willing, if you love something, shoot, it's like when you love somebody, you're willing to take a bullet for somebody, you know? Like if you love something so much, like why not take a bullet for something so much, you know? So I was willing to bite the bullet at that point in time. And even during that Mackay shoot, like I was in my car for like the first 3 months. So like right before I got put out, I was in my car.
Wow.
And then like we did like 2 or 3 premieres. I was still in my car that whole entire time. And nobody knew though. Nobody had any idea. Like, and nobody, I mean, I'm sure nobody still has any idea that I was in my car.
Yeah.
But I didn't talk about it. I didn't complain about it. I just made sure that my goal is what I'm focusing on. And all I needed was a shower and a place to sleep at the time. And that's what I was able to have. And that's all I need to be able to stay in the water. So it's then coming back to like minimalistic type of things. Like I'm not a very, I wouldn't say I'm a very materialistic type of person, which is why like these types of trips, like the Peru trip and like those things hold more weight than like a surfboard, not a surfboard, but like a trophy.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Or
Those things hold way more weight to me. Like cause I can come now and share with you all of these experiences. And like you say, like, I'm like knowledgeable, whatever from my years, but I think I attribute it to being able to go through these experiences, you know, like God wouldn't have put me in this position if he didn't believe that I was going to be able to do something super great out of it either. So I think even though it sucks, it sucks for sure, but it could get worse. And if I'm not doing anything about it, it's only going to get worse.
Right.
And I got to tell myself who's going to do anything about it but you. So I motivate myself in that way. But then it's like, yeah, like I said, looking at people like you, like people who have gone through some crazy, crazy situations or like abuse and like, man, how do you come out of that? But like, that's why I asked that. How did you process that whole situation? Because that's what interested me. Like, I'm very interested in how people process different things or like why you think the way you think.
Yeah.
And I feel
right
like that's kind of directed my path along the way it is now.
Again, thank you for sharing. I just can think of so many people who would be afraid of that, you know, like, oh, what? I can't, sleep in my car. I can't. But also like the way you were talking to yourself and the drive that you had, you know, like I have this goal, I have this mission. As long as I keep moving towards that, all this other BS doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. I just want to sit with that. I feel like it
helped,
that
it
in.
helped having a girlfriend though. I'll definitely say that it helped having somebody else to struggle with.
Yeah, so having a little bit of support
for sure.
Was this something you were sharing with anybody else besides your girlfriend? Like, did your family know?
My mom knew. My dad didn't really know until like right before I had left to go to Hawaii. He didn't really know that I was living in my car. I don't know how much my uncles knew, but my grandpa knew. That's one person that I always talk to. My grandpa has been like my spiritual counselor for like my entire life. So if I'm ever going through some crazy thing, like I call him and he's kind of like allows me to understand that this is just the situation right now.
Right. It's all temporary.
Exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot, it's a better story to tell. I was living I had to go through this to be able to go where I was at.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna look back at it and laugh because I had to go through all of these things, you know.
Right.
So it really is. It's another page in the book.
Yeah,
it really is. It's another page in the book.
Man, it's incredible. I'm just so impressed again. And, I'm not trying to be like overly complimentary here, but it's like, I'm just amazed by your determination and then the way you were able to kind of handle adversity and then use it to like motivate yourself and then spin it in this way. I think so many of us get stuck in these narratives like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. I'm never going to be able to do this. Or, oh, how am I, I'm not going to have enough money. Like I can't do that. But it's like, if there's a will, there's a way, truly. Right.
Yep.
And like, I feel like you're living proof of it, man. I think it's just amazing.
Thank you.
So let's talk about where you're at now. Because you got some big competitions coming up. You got some great sponsors. Like, how does this all work out and where are you going?
First of all, again, thank you for the opportunity because I'm just as starstruck as you are in that. So I can compliment you and compliment you and compliment you because you have overcome a lot.
Yeah, we're just two brothers from Hawaii. You know what I mean? We're just two guys.
Hawaii is the reason why we are where we are.
Yep.
I will always attribute that to Hawaii. But
definitely.
Right now, even today, which was cool, right before I came out here, I've been working on some new boards for those contests that you're talking about. So I'm working with Soul Performance and Mark Brog Surfboards out in Gardena. And we've been building a super good relationship. He knows how to translate the way I speak or the way that I surf into like the right equipment.
Yeah.
So building with them to be able to get the right equipment for when I do am able to be into these contests, I'm ready to go. So like we're working on a few models. I just got a composition model. I call it the Night Owl in
Mm.
tribute to my pueo. It's
Oh,
called the Night Owl.
I might have to get that board too,
If
bro.
you want to, you know where to go. Brock Surfboards.
There you go.
But doing that, and then because of the community that I'm involved in with the Black Surfers Collective and the Ebony Beach Club, I do a lot of events to where my main thing is as a Hawaiian, I was always taught in Kamehameha was to perpetuate what you know, perpetuate your culture, perpetuate what you love. And I feel like what I love just so happens to be a big part of Hawaiian culture, which is surfing. So I do my best to show up at community events to give surf lessons to kids or anybody at this point. Like I any time that I'm able to like volunteer my time to be in the water with people, I go and I take that time. So we're working on a board for people who aren't at like the most intermediate or advanced skill levels, but they want to feel like that.
Yeah.
You can hop on a board and have the great time, but then you're like semi-pro or pro surfer, you can take this board and travel with it anywhere. So we're working on some cool stuff. We're really stoked on that. And
That's epic, man.
also building with Tonori, we're working on some, hopefully building together another relationship where they were able to support me with some clothes while I've been in Hawaii, and it's been a cool building building blocks. Like I said, all these things are the 1% steps. So with Tonori, another company that's supported me for a long time is U Surf Wax.
Nice.
They're like this super organic. They make all of their bars of wax out of beeswax.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's crazy because they started like making these super gnarly yellow bars because, and I was like, oh yeah, beeswax or whatever, it didn't work. But I wanted to try it. And I was like, I mean, I'm sure I was the only one out of the lineup in Waimea when I was like 16 or 17 years old using a board completely waxed by beeswax.
Yeah.
And it worked. So we've
Nice.
continued this relationship, and they're the quality of the wax is insane. So I've been using that, and that's been helping me out. That's why I knew I had to be out here, because there's not a lot of if I wasn't getting the respect that I needed to be in Hawaii, I wasn't gonna get to where I needed to be. So like because I wasn't a part of that bubble, I wasn't gonna get the sponsor. I wasn't gonna get the notification, or not or what is it called?
Yeah,
notoriety. Exactly.
Yeah,
For all the things because I'm doing just as much as these kids are, bro. Like I'm in the gym twice a day. I'm surfing twice a day, writing things down, watching and studying. I don't have a coach, but I'm my own personal coach. So I do as much as I possibly can. It's been cool, like working with U Surf Wax and working with Ultra traction pads and Narva wetsuits and Arvik. Chris Refuto, a super solid guy. Me and him have a mutual friend through a high school. But there's just people like how you say, people seeing who I am and really like kind of falling in love with my character, and we're able to sit down and have a conversation, and like we become friends. And like a lot of these companies and a lot of the people who support me are friends, are people that know who I am and know kind of where I'm coming from and know where I'm trying to get. And people believe in me for that reason, because I am. When I do share my story, it does make sense to some people. Like, oh wow, you've made it this far and you're able to do this. So
yeah, it's
very,
impressive.
very blessed. Like I said, it's a struggle and it sucks, but it's a blessing in itself too. Because I wouldn't be able to have anything to talk about if I wasn't going through this stuff, you know?
For real,
So-
yeah. But that's the thing too. I think we don't want to be judged on our worst days, right? We want to be
Mhm.
judged on our best days. And you continuously, from what I hear, is like you're striving to make better and better days.
Yeah.
And there's always levels to
Endlessly.
it, man. And I think the sponsors you got sound epic. They're so
Thank you.
cool. I'm glad
Thank
we
you.
got to shout them out. But
Thank you.
I also want to talk a little bit about those organizations that
Yeah.
you mentioned. Can you tell me a little bit more about like Ebony Surf Club and
So the Ebony Beach Club.
Beach Club? Yep.
One of my homies, his name is Brick. He had like 2 experiences out in the South Bay at Manhattan Beach Pier where he was just surfing, him and a buddy, and didn't even really get in anybody's way. But because they were out there, somebody felt the need to start calling him the N-word, cussing him out, splashing him out of the water. And he's like, bro, what am I doing that's so different from you? We're surfing the same waves,
Right.
out of the same break. So why do you think you can call me out and tell me I got to get out of the water? So from that, he wanted to build a community to make people feel more welcomed in the ocean. And like, that's something I support fully, 100%. So anything that like makes people feel comfortable, like I'm in a sense like that rebel. Like you tell me I can't do it, I'm gonna figure out a way to do it. So like people people say like black people can't be at the beach or whatever. Like people can't swim, you can't surf. No, we're gonna figure out a way to do it. And like we interlocked in that time. So like I said, when we were going back and forth on social media, him telling me all of these things, like it just fueled my fire. Like, nah, like I think LA needs like somebody to come and like make a statement, regardless if it's right away or in 10 years, somebody's going to have to come and change something. So I saw being a part of that community, starting to be able to make a movement in that direction with the younger crowd, which was, we did parties and we did like free surf lessons and like, I mean, beach events that made people feel comfortable to be in the beach, and there was no violence. People danced all night. It was epic. I mean, stripper poles at the beach, bro. Like, insane.
Yeah, I mean,
insane.
Yeah. The stuff for the
Insane.
family, stuff for the parents, I
No,
guess.
100%. Yeah. And like, so, but like making people feel comfortable in all aspects. And then, so being a part of the Ebony Beach Club, I was able to also meet the people from the Black Surfers Collective. Uncle Greg and Auntie Marie have been like damn near my parents out here. They've taken me under their wing. But like anytime they've got an event, me and my girlfriend Frankie were always down there volunteering our time from like 6 a.m, from loading all the boards up in their thing till the end of the day, making sure everybody's wetsuits are gone and washed off. Like, but I genuinely enjoy that. It's a long day. It's tiring. Yes. But I genuinely, because for me, yes, I want to be in the person that I want to be, but I want to leave a legacy. I want people to remember me even after I'm gone. And I think that's kind of what life is about, is like, you can do all the crazy things and the awesome things, but like, if you didn't necessarily like leave a mark on the world, then what did you do? You know, like if somebody can't talk to you or talk about you tomorrow, you know, or if somebody didn't feel like a positive impact, like what did you do?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to like leave a legacy for not just like surfers or Black people, but people like that just look like me or feel like they're in a space that they are so in a box they can't break out of it no matter what they want to do. Like, I just want to show like, no, bro, like do what you want to do. And as long as you focus on stay focused on that goal, you can get there. It may take a long time. I'm not going to lie. It can take a long time, but the more you grind and the harder you work, the more you'll see like the fruitfulness of this journey. And I think that's what life is about. Really what life is about.
Man, that is beautifully said. You got so much wisdom in you. You got so much, I mean, so much of what you said, I can relate to. It inspires me. I want to live, like that too. So I just feel like I can relate to it so much, man. That's fire. Before we wrap this up, I want to ask you a question, because I think you've had so much turmoil and then you've had these moments of just serenity, but like currently, what's giving you the most peace?
Just being in the ocean. And like I said before, it took me being away from all the cameras and the jerseys and this and that. Like when I was back home, I struggled with having to look a certain way or be like, it's this image that you always want to carry. But like, I told myself, why? Who's telling me I have to be this person? Who's forcing me to, you know what I'm saying? Unless you're paying me to, be an actor, okay, then you can't really tell me how I should act, right? So I really I broke out of that barrier. Like, do what you love, be who you love, and if you love yourself, there's no reason to hate it. And I've been, again, embracing what's in front of me and enjoying it, like taking every little step, regardless, good or bad, and trying to like not take it as a loss, but take it as a learning experience. So I've been journaling a lot and becoming an adult. Like, I mean, I'm 24 years old, so I've been adult for a minute, but like, I'm really learning what it means to be professional too. And I think that's like what's breaking the barrier right now.
Man, I see a complete professional. I've met a lot of different athletes, man. And yeah, you're doing it. Trust me. You're doing it.
Thank you.
That's incredible.
No, it means a lot. It does mean a lot.
Oh, yeah, it's all good.
It really does mean a lot.
Yeah. I mean,
but like that was a question I wanted to ask you, was like the self-image portion. Was it hard for you to like want to do those things because people are going to see you in this type of way?
Oh yeah, man.
That's the part
absolutely.
that I've been struggling as well. Is like how you said, like, it's kind of hard to share these things, but I shared with you earlier, if I'm not sharing, then nobody knows.
Yeah. It was hard, man. Like, just to be real, because all of a sudden I didn't look the same, right? I lost so many parts of me, literally. Like, I didn't have like my eyelids, I didn't have like parts of my ear. Like, I was so badly burned, and I was like, how do I ever go back in public again? And I never thought like, man, I didn't feel like I was Brad Pitt, but I was like, I thought I looked okay.
There's those things that you want to be able to, that make you feel confident too, right?
Or I was just like, I feel good about me, like I work out, I'm into sports, like I'm in good shape. So then to lose that though, right? That became a big struggle, but it also made me realize that we are more than just this. There is a spirit, I'm not as religious as I used to be, but I do feel like this is just the machine that carries the soul. It carries the spirit, right? And I wanted to take the opportunity to share more of my spirit, more of what I felt like mattered in life. I think so much of what you said, without going to my accident, like going to the level my accident did, you've already felt that, you've experienced it. We want to live our true selves. We want to chase our passions, our goals, but we also want to leave a legacy that other people can take with them and that can inspire other people. Like, and again, I mean, I said this earlier, but I mean it. Like, I don't want to be judged on the worst day of my life. I want to be judged on the best day.
Exactly.
And I want to show people, like, even if you have the worst day of your life, you can still move forward
and have the best day.
Yeah. You can get it again.
If
you
it
can dig out that hole.
If it hasn't happened, it most likely will.
Exactly.
100%.
As long as you keep going. And then I think that's what your story just highlights so well, is like you lock in, you found this passion and you just kept working towards it little by little, right? And not everything was a smooth path. There was jumps forward, there was a couple of jumps back, then boost forward, but it's like you kept putting yourself in the right places, meeting the right people, staying true to who you are, staying true to your passion. And it's like, look at you now, what you're doing and where we're going to see you go this year. I think it's just going to be incredible. Tell you right now, you got a solid fan. I'm always going to root for you. And I just think you got the right mindset to do it.
Thank you very much.
Of course, man.
No, this opportunity means a lot to me. Like I said, doing things like this has been a childhood dream of mine. So it does feel like it's all going full circle. The fact that you're from Hawaii, I'm from Hawaii, and they're not actually very far from where I'm, like 20 minutes away, Like, shoot, not too many people can say that, growing up in the mainland, like, fuck, I live 20 minutes away from the guy that decided how to podcast with me. So this is all like super, super cool things. And I'm very appreciative of, like I said, even the bad days.
Yeah.
Because I know they're all going to lead to something better.
So my last question I usually sign off with is, if somebody is going through their lowest point, their darkest moment, their fall or rock bottom, what would your advice be? But I feel like you kind of already just said that.
Yeah. In a sense, like, never giving up for sure, but like, just find yourself. Yeah. If you're at your rock bottom, if it means going off on a trip, if it means talking to somebody, if it means walking on the sand by yourself and just listening to your thoughts or listening to the water crash on the sand, figure out who you are and then start again. Like, I feel like that's the best way to, if you don't know who you are, it's very hard to make things happen. Figure out who you are and start again. I think that's going to be like super important, very monumental for people to start changing their lives for sure.
Julian, you're already a legend, man. Yeah. Bro, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mahalo for everything.
Brother, this is...
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Sick Burn Podcast. It was an absolute honor to have Julian with us, sharing his journey as a pro surfer who passionately champions diversity and creativity within the surfing community. His dedication to pursuing his dreams and uplifting others beautifully illustrates the power of resilience and community. Julian's story inspires us all to chase our dreams with courage and commitment, even against the toughest waves. If you enjoyed our conversation, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, which we greatly appreciate, and share this episode with someone who could use a little inspiration. Follow us on all the social media channels at SickBurnPod to stay up to date on upcoming episodes, weekly inspiration, and behind-the-scenes content. Join us next time as we continue to explore more incredible stories of overcoming adversity and finding the bright side of life's darkest moments. Aloha.